Hello and welcome to a much anticipated, long awaited episode of the Berry Bus Road Trip Season 2. Sorry it's taken me so long, and obviously if you're watching this in the future, the apology isn't for you. I moved about a year ago, and I've been trying to find a way to keep the quality the same where I had the green screen and everything, but I had to downsize a little bit, and I haven't really been able to find a good spot for the green screen. So we're going to go back to our roots a little bit, go back to the surviving Vietnam style, where I have monitor in the background. I can kind of share some pictures up on the screen, videos up on the screen, and we'll just do it that way. And if you hate it, then you can let me know, and I will find a way to remedy the situation. When we last left off, Ian and I had finally met up. I picked him up from the airport, and we went to Smokey Mountain Outdoors. This was a resort where people would go in Tennessee to float down a river. My buddy Ian was a rafting guide. This was going to be a lot of fun, and I was expected to wake up early the next day so that I could go on the first tour with my buddy Ian. However, I had kind of a crappy night that night. See, my van had woken me up 5 different times in the middle of the night. My stereo would just come on full blast, and I honestly, I just didn't sleep very well. So when I got up and Ian had already been waiting at my van for me, I let him know the situation. I was like, dude, there's some sort of short in my bus. I just need a little more time to sleep, and I'll see you on the next run. And that was fine with him. So at about 11:30, I did wake up, brushed my teeth, got ready, and Ian showed up at about 12 o'clock and welcomed me on the next trip. We got on the bus, and I saw everyone loading the big rafts up on the top of the bus, and we drove out. We had on this bus a full bus full of tour guides as well as people who were coming there for the experience. And Ian was actually the one who was doing the bus talk. He stood up at the front of the bus and he was like, "All right, everybody, who's ready to have a great time?" And everyone just starts cheering. And he's like, "I did not hear that." And everyone starts cheering louder. It was a lot of fun. He was very, very good at being a tour guide. And I honestly wish that I could have recorded it, because some of the stuff that he was saying, like how to be safe while you're in the water, it was fun, it was entertaining, but it was also really informative. You know, things like, if you fall out of the boat, don't try to stand back up. Just lay on your back, because if you stand up and then your feet get trapped by rocks, the water's pushing you under, and that's how people die. Obviously, he didn't say it like that. He was telling everybody that these are like level 4, level 5 rapids, and that get people really, riled up. The truth is they're not really level 4, level 5, but that's the point, right? It's safe, but it amps people up. So the buses park at the river, and we take all of the rafts off the top of the bus, and we get everyone in the raft. And I must have been with like 6 or 7 people. There was Ian, who was the guide, and then there was like 6 or 7 people who had purchased the thing, and then I was sitting next to Ian. And it was so fun. The people were funny, they were having a great time, no one was being loud or obnoxious, and there was a point at the end when we made it to like pretty much the very end of the tour where Ian gave me the paddle and then turned around and said, "All right, everybody, he's your captain now." And he just pretended to fall asleep. And so I'm rowing the thing, and I see some people looking at me like, does this guy know what he's doing? And I was like, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know, this is my first time. So if you want to tip me," and they all start laughing. So once we'd pulled the boat back up to shore, Ian came to me and said, "Hey, I only have one more guide to do, and it's an extreme." What this means is that someone had purchased a private tour. It was a guy and a girl, and they were on their honeymoon or something like that. So the chances of me going were pretty much 50-50. And so I was like, okay, well, it's fine if I can't go. He goes, "Well, let me go ahead and ask." So I hear him with these people, and he goes, "Hey, I got a buddy visiting, and I know you guys paid for a private tour, but I wondered if maybe he could come along." And they were kind of sitting there thinking about it. He goes, I want to let you know, he's kind of an idiot. So do you mind if I introduce you guys to him? And they're like, okay, that would be fine. So when I heard him say that, I put my helmet on backwards, grabbed my life vest and flipped it around so that the back was on my chest. And I just kind of like jumped over like this. And I was like, "Hey, I'm Barry. How's it going?" And they're like, "Invite that guy." So we're in the boat for a little bit. We kind of reached this calm area, and we were getting to know each other, the private, group, and myself and Ian. And I remembered Ian had said that I was stupid, so I kept trying to think of dumb shit to say. And I was staring really intensely in the water. And there's a point where everyone just kind of stops, and they're looking at me like, what is he looking at? And Ian goes, "You're kind of staring really intensely at that water, Barry." And I was like, whoever invented water was a genius. He goes, amen. And we both just started laughing. He's like, how do you come up with that? That's so stupid. All of a sudden, the rapids start really riling up. And when you pay for an extreme trip, what Ian didn't tell me is what you're paying for is to be flipped and thrown into the water, right? Now, I'm sitting there in this boat, and Ian goes, okay, guys, you guys paid for the extreme trip, so are you ready to see God? And they look back at him and they're like, what do you mean? He goes, I'm going to take the rope that's attached to the front of the boat, and once we hit that rapid up there, I'm going to tug on it as hard as I can and flip us all into the water. Are you ready to see God? And they both turn back and they're like, yeah. And they look at me and I was like, bro, I didn't know we were doing this. So we go down towards the water and he goes, everyone get prepared, and pulls on this rope the second that rapid comes up and pushes the front of the boat upward. Pulls on that rope and we all just fall in. Now at this point in time, there are other boats along the side on kind of the shallower and easier side of the river, and they had seen us do this. So I'm now under the water. I'm choking under the water. I didn't realize I was going to be rushed this fast. And so like I bob back up and I'm like coughing up water, and I'm like trying to look for the boat, and I realized it had made it pretty damn far away and everyone else had already made it to the boat. I don't know how they got there that fast. So I'm swimming myself over there, and there's this boat, this little raft, that's kind of close-ish to me at this point in time. Half black family, half white family. And they're just sitting there looking at me, kind of worried. And they're like, are you okay? And, and I look back at them, and I scream out, I just saw God! She's black! Oh my God. Half that boat lost it. They were having a great time. Funnily enough, it was the black half. They loved that. And they're just like so uncomfortable, the white half of the boat. Ian and the other two are just dying in their raft over there as I swim back and pull myself in. And he's just like, oh my God, I told you he was an idiot. And they just loved it. They were just loving it. So once we gotten back, we cleaned up a little bit, did a dump run, and went and took some showers. I went back to my van because we were maybe going to do something, and she wouldn't start up again. So my van has a bit of an issue. You probably heard this sentence before, especially if you're familiar with the BulletBarry channel. I'm on a road trip right now, and in the middle of the night, my stereo, my little deck up there, see if I can get a shot of that. Yeah, that just turns on and starts blasting music as I'm trying to go to bed. By the way, my sound system is turning on while the key isn't even in the ignition. So I have some sort of hiccup somewhere in the wiring. I'm out all day. I come back to the van, go to start it, and I'm at 9 volts. Because apparently my stereo has been turning on and off all day, and it drained my battery. That's a bit of a shame. So what I realized was about a week before I had even shown up here, I went to an O'Reilly's and I filled up my window washer fluid. When I went to use my window washer fluid to spray my windshield, it actually sprayed up into the dash where all the wiring is instead, and then dripped on my feet. And so I was like, what the hell is going on? Seems like one of the hoses is all messed up. And so my theory is it got those wires wet and then started causing this short to happen. Ian and I decided to go into town and get some Rocky's hot chicken, which was very good and very spicy. We then went to a hardware store and we picked up this voltage switch. The idea was we were going to cut my cables and hook it up to this voltage switch so that we can turn it on and off, and then put that switch in there, and if we turn it, then it can't make a connection, cannot turn my van on in the middle of the night, and basically bypass the problem that way. When we got back to Smo, Ian used his van to charge up my van, which was very sweet, and then I disconnected the battery completely so that it couldn't die in the middle of the night. And then we basically stayed up watching YouTube until like 2 a.m. So the next day we wake up and Ian had taken the day off. We decided that we were going to get into my dash. We took the entire thing apart and we were looking around at what might be causing the water to go up under the dash like that. So after we'd taken it all apart and we'd checked a bunch of the hose ends and covers, it turned out the hose itself was cracked, and so that's what's gonna need to be fixed. And you know what? Funnily enough, my God, that that road trip was a couple years ago now, and I just bought the hoses 2 weeks ago. Wow.
No, go for it again. Do what you were doing.
Okay.
Do what you're doing.
All right. I'm going to get in there.
Yeah, get in there.
Is it recording?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Get in there, Barry.
I'm going to get in there. Oh, hang on. I almost got it.
Oh, you're so close.
So we get the van all back together, and Ian and I decided to take off to this place called Klingman's Dome. It's apparently this big mountain where you can get up to the top of it, and they've built this beautiful structure that spirals all the way up to the top, and you can see, in a panoramic view, all of the Smoky Mountains around you. And I was like, dude, that sounds amazing. Absolutely, let's go. On the way, we'd stopped at a gas station, and as I was filling up my tank, this guy walks up to me and he's asking me about the van. Like, hey, that's really cool. Where'd you get it? Like, how long have you had it for? What are you doing? Are you traveling around? That's awesome. And so he and I are talking for a little bit, and he's like, hey, well, I gotta get back to work. I was just on a smoke break, but I work at the liquor store. So, hey, if you and your buddy, if you guys wanna, come over to the liquor store, I'll give you my discount. And I was like, really? That's too kind. He's like, yeah, no, I love this, like, definitely, I'll give you my discount. He walks off, and Ian's just looking at me like, why does that keep happening to you? That happened the first fucking time. Why does it happen to you? Why do people just give you free shit? So we get in our vans, we're driving towards Klingman's Dome, and as we go, we're going to, like, certain little spots. As you make it up the mountain, there are like little spots you can stop off. They'll have restrooms and kind of like little lookout points, and we were just kind of sitting there and enjoying every single lookout point as we went. Funnily enough, though, we would park at a place and then people would walk up to us and be like, dudes, your vans are so cool, this is so awesome, tell me everything about your vans, how did you two meet? And so we would sit there and we'd tell the story until basically no one cared anymore, and then we would go up to the next spot and it would happen again. Honestly, we would have spent maybe 5 minutes in each spot. Just kind of like, oh cool, we see the spot, let's keep going up. But because of how often we were stopped and asked these same questions, how did you meet? How long have you had your vans? What have you done to them? Show me the inside. We were there for like probably 10 to 20 minutes at each spot. And it took us an hour to get up to the very top because of this. So we get up further up the mountain and we come across this spot where there's just trash kind of over the place, and Ian hates litter. So we were spending some time picking them up.
Do it. Say it.
What the fuck? It's this easy. There was one guy that stopped us that does stand out. His name is Rex, and he was really cool. He was with his wife. They were traveling up the mountain, and he stopped and talked to us for a while. Apparently, he'd had these vans before. He was very passionate about them, and you could just see how full his heart was that we were traveling together with these vans. It made him so happy, and so talking to him was really, really cool. But, man, it's about time we need to make it to the top. So there we are at the top of the mountain. We finally made it. We park and we're kind of sitting together and, having ourselves a snack. I grab some water from the van, close it up, and we walk over to the entrance. Well, this lady had stopped Ian on the way and was like, your bus is beautiful. I love the green. And she and him are kind of talking for a little bit. So I was like, I'm going to go back to my van real quick and I'm going to grab some water. They're going to talk. This has been happening the whole freaking time. So whatever. So I go back to my van. I open her up, I grab some water, lock it up, close the door, walk back, and he's like, okay, are you ready to go? I was like, yeah, I am. Real quick, actually, now that I think about it, I've got granola bars in my van. Should I bring a couple of those just in case we get hungry up there? He goes, that's genius, yes. So I walk back to the van.
Tell me what you just did, Barry.
I just locked my keys in my van.
Nice.
And I'm on the outside of it. And it's all locked up. So, awesome. Now, mind you, we're at the top of a mountain miles, hours away from any city. So Ian and I are walking around my van trying to figure out how to get back in. And the worst part is that I had made the van really secure before I left on my first road trip. I had lock-proofed the entire thing, so none of the windows just busted open anymore. You can't just open up the back hatch anymore, right? That was something that I was just always able to do. So there was no getting into this van. And as much as I knew that, I'd tried, because knowing how far away we were from any city, it would have taken a very long time, if not multiple days, for AAA to want to show up and help us out. So Ian and I are sitting there talking with each other. He's like, maybe we just stay in my van for a couple days until AAA does come get us. And I'm like, shit. When this guy walks up and he goes, hey guys, what's going on? And all sassy, I was just like, oh, we're just trying to break into this guy's shit. He laughed and he goes, what's really going on? I was like, well, I feel like an idiot, but I locked my keys in my van. They're actually right there. I mean, none of the windows are rolled down. I can't get to them. He goes, dude, that sucks. That is really rough, especially given how far away we are from anywhere. It's going to take AAA hours, if not days, to get here. But I work for AAA, so I got you. What the hell? So Ian had this metal ruler that was in his van, and he gives it to the guy. And the guy clips it into a hook, puts it into my passenger side window, and then opens the van up. Just... all right, there you guys go. Have a nice day. We're like, dude, what the hell? That was so kind. Is there anything we can do for you? Can we give you, like, we just bought beer at a discount. Hey, do you want our beer? He's like, no, you're fine. I was like, there's nothing we can give you? And he's like, no, you guys have a good day. And walks away into the sunset. Ian stops, just flabbergasted at this situation. And he looks at me and he goes, you're God's little idiot. You know that? I was really thinking about that too. I was like, seriously, what are the odds of the situation where I lock myself in my van and the only person, the one and only person who walks up happens to be the guy who breaks into cars every day for his job? That's insane. Then again, thinking about it, I think the weird odds is that he was there that day, because I guess if you did work at AAA and you noticed, I mean, you could probably read the situation. You'd be like, okay, I see this every day. So, I mean, that's not so strange, just the fact that he was there and was the only person to pass by. That's pretty awesome. So Ian and I start walking up the mountain, and now I am like ferociously full of energy. I'm like crazy excited about what just happened. And I see this family up ahead, and they're walking kind of slow. They're kind of just moving at their pace, making it up. And Ian and I are just like, you know, we're like making it. This family looks pretty normal, except there was this one, the daughter, she had on this like super Naruto shirt that had like Naruto characters just all over it, and then she had like a cloak, and it was a Naruto blanket too. It's like definitely really into anime. So I'm walking up, and Ian and I are laughing with each other, and as soon as I'm pretty much right next to this family, I turn to them and I'm like, how are you guys doing? And they're like, great. And I look at her and I was like, do you want to hear my anime impression? And Ian is now sprint running. Like he's still walking, actually, but he was like, oh my God, no. Like, out of embarrassment, no. And I'm like, don't leave me. Hey, you want to hear it? And she's like, okay. And I went, Dad. And oh my God, the family lost it. She's dying. She's red in the face. And I'm just like sprinting back. Ian, don't leave me. And he heard it. He's like, oh my God, dude, why do you do that shit? It made me happy. So we made it to the top of the mountain, and it was absolutely gorgeous. That was so worth the whole situation, being stopped as we went up to each peak, locking myself in the van, and just making it to the top. You could see everything. And I'm honestly stalling a little bit so that I can show you a lot of the footage that I took up there. Eventually, we make it back down to Ian's van. We sit down inside, and we're thinking about places to eat when 3 buses filled with kids pour out onto the parking lot. And they run over to the bus. Pretty much, like, the majority of them run over to the bus, and they're jumping inside of it. Like, what is this? This is crazy. Is that one yours? Holy crap. And we're just like, holy God, what are you doing? You can't just jump into some stranger's van, dude. What are you doing? It was really cool to see that these vans, they have like multi-generational curiosity and love. And that was just so striking, you know, like we would meet a lot of people from various ages, but seeing a bus full of kids, and they must have been like 8 to 13, somewhere in that range. And they are just as in love with these buses as the older generations who'd had them before. And I just love that. There was one kid that was the most intense, though. He jumped inside the van and he's looking at Ian and he's like, wait, do you live in this? Are you living in this? Where do you sleep? And then he turns to me and he goes, where does he sleep? And I'm just like, whoa, kid. You need to just jump out of the bus, bro.
I'm hungry as heck.
So Ian and I start heading down the mountain because we wanted to get into town and get ourselves some food. When this guy behind Ian is flashing his brights at him over and over again. And Ian's talking over the walkie-talkie to me. He's like, hey, this guy's being a dick. I don't know what's going on, but like maybe he wants me to move out of the way. So Ian starts to move out of the way. And the truck keeps speed with him, stays right on his ass, and keeps flashing the brights at him. So Ian's like, screw this, dude. I'm going to go off into one of those like little side areas. Just meet me in the next one you find. And I was like, okay, screw this guy, right? So we go into one of like, you know, the lookout spots. And the truck follows us in there. And it was Rex. Rex had noticed that he was going down the mountain at the same time we were, and he wanted to stop and say goodbye one more time. So we got a photo with him, and honestly, he was a really cool dude.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Rex Tab. This is Barry. I'm 58 years old. I just want to show you my nipple. See? Look at that. Hang on. I'm going to get a close-up shot right here.
So we got to a little Chinese restaurant, ate as fast as we could because they were closing pretty soon, and then we get back on the highway heading back towards Smoky Mountain Outdoors. So we've got our walkie-talkies, right? He's got his, I got mine, and we're talking to each other back and forth when all of a sudden I see this flash of light come from his bus, and there's this huge bang. And he's like, bro, did you just see something? And I'm like, yeah, I did. I saw something. There was like a flash of light or something. I don't know what just happened. He goes, holy shit, dude, that was loud. That scared the shit out of me. We need to pull over. I don't know what just happened. He thought he had blown a tire. So we get to a gas station and we pull off and we're looking at the tires and everything's fine.
Come fucking look at this. Oh my god. Where's the fucking middle? Where's the middle one? But back here, their panel there flew off of its hinges and then caught itself in your rack. I'm lucky that it didn't fly off the side and smash a window. Oh, dude. I'm not even tired at midnight. I'm so tired. It's like 11.
That was nuts, and Ian was pissed. So Ian and I get back to Smoky Mountain Outdoors, and we're setting up Ian's tent. He had this tent that actually sat up against his van and gave him more space outside, which was really cool, and I actually considered buying one of these myself before I went on my first road trip. So it was actually really cool to see him with one. But either way, we're setting that up, and these two huge hornets, biggest hornets I've ever seen, started aggressively attacking us. And they were persistent. We were swatting them away, and they kept coming back. One landed on me and stung me, and I dropped my flashlight. One was trying to get into Ian's hair. Eventually, Ian killed both of them, and we thought that our problems were over. However, these hornets will make a second appearance. However, we'll have to get to that the next time. I promise that it won't take as long for me to tell the next road trip story. Sorry it did take so long, but yeah, we'll get a better schedule worked out on that. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.